What's up, guys? As promised, we are going to be comparing the older iPhones to the newest one, and today we've got the 8 Plus versus the 15 Pro Max, and I think this could be potentially a really good upgrade for you guys. We're going to go ahead and go over everything, and I'm kind of disappointed that the 8 Plus didn't get iOS 17, so that's why I think a lot of you guys are probably looking for, an upgrade. Alright, so let's get started here. The biggest thing that you're going to notice here is the overall design. So you can see just a way different design, massive cameras on the 15 Pro Max. And as you can see, you have a matte finish now as opposed to the glossy finish. So basically it just makes your phone look way cleaner with fingerprints, which isn't a really big deal because some of you guys might just put a case on it. But when I'm in the house, I do like to just take the case off so I can feel the phone. Also, these are both glass and metal phones, of course, and then the iPhone 8 Plus is IP67 dust and water resistant, and the 15 is IP68 dust and water resistant, so you're getting a little bit of an upgrade there. And one thing you'll notice here is that the iPhone 15 Pro is really light for its size. So it's not as light as the 8 Plus, but you can definitely tell that the titanium in here just made this thing a bit lighter. So I think you guys will really like that because this is a pretty light phone. It's really comfortable to use for long periods of time. With at least the 14 Pro Max, that phone was kind of heavy, so I'm glad they made that move. You also will notice a difference here with the button. So you do now have a action button now on here. So basically it's just a customizable button, and you do have the old school mute switch now, mute vibration switch, but you can customize the action button on here to pretty much do open applications and pretty much other tasks. I just put it back to the mute, so you just hold it like that and it works just the same way, so it's not a huge deal. Alright, so this is a pretty big difference here when it comes to displays. So the 8 Plus has a 5.5 inch display, which would be considered compact these days, honestly. It's Retina IPS LCD, 625 nits brightness. It's 1080p 401 for the PPI. It actually still looks pretty good, just resolution wise and PPI wise. But you can see it has these really big chunky bezels, and you can see the home button up front, which we'll talk about, is now going in place for the gestures. The 15 Pro Max does have a LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's 120 Hz HDR10. It gets up to 2000 nits peak brightness. It's 6.7 inches, so it's a much bigger display. And then we also have 1290 by 2796 resolution with 460 for the PPI. And now you can see they do have a notch, or not a notch, but a dynamic islands, what they call it, and basically you can interact with it with notifications and stuff like that. So the biggest difference, obviously you'll notice, is the bezels, right? And the 8 Plus is still a pretty nice display. Just looking at it side by side, I can't say it's a bad display, but the thing that'll pop out is the 120 Hz. You should notice immediately, and when you take this thing outdoors, you will notice it immediately that it's just way brighter than the 8 Plus, getting up to that 2000 nits peak brightness. So like I said, two very nice displays. I think one of the things that's a lot of people will kind of be annoyed by if they don't like notches or the punch holes. The 8 Plus does have like a straight up no notch or punch hole, so you kind of have to get used to, when you're watching content, this thing always being here, right? But other than that, I think it's a great display upgrade. Like I said, it's a bigger display. It just looks better. It's brighter outdoors, and it's got the 120 Hertz. So basically when you're scrolling, it just feels a little bit smoother, no matter what you're doing. So like I said, the home button is going in place for the gestures, which I think you'll get used to fast. I do like having that physical button. I think it's just really nice. That's why I always kind of keep my SE around. But yeah, I think you guys made the adjustment. All right, so let's talk about the specs a little bit more. So the 15 Pro Max does have the Apple A17 chip on it, 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model. And then the 8 Plus, it does have the Apple A11 chip, 64 gigs of internal storage, and 3 gigs of RAM on the base model. So basically what that means is that the 15 Pro Max is just going to be faster, and it'll be able to have applications open more in the background. So when you're switching between applications, it'll keep more of them open. So you can see the difference in the single core, and then when we get to the multi-core, it's absolutely ridiculous, going from 1,971 to 7,000. So yeah, it's really fast. So now what I always tell people is that if you're an average, like just a normal user, the 8 Plus is still not that slow when opening applications, browsing the web and stuff like that. It's really not that slow as you would think. So you can see the 15 Pro Max is faster, but it's not like it's like ridiculously faster than the 8 Plus. If you're a power user, that's where you'll notice a lot of that speed difference. If you're doing like some really intense like editing, whether it be photos, like Adobe stuff, applications like that. But as you can see, well, that was actually that was a bit of a time. But like I said, it's not super dramatic, and you see that this phone is starting to age a little bit in terms of the chip, because it'll start to have these little slowdowns. Especially I noticed, like, not necessarily with gaming, but it'll just kind of like have them little like glitches and stuff like that. But I don't notice it. I only notice it if I'm like going in at games and applications and stuff like that. Some applications, but typically the phone still feels smooth. But as time goes on, it'll start to feel slower as well. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. But like I said, it's not like it's so much crazier faster. If you're not like a power user, the 8 Plus is still kind of fast in my opinion. It's just, you can see, it's not that big of a deal. But like I said, power user or in general, you'll feel the difference with the 120 hertz and just with the overall gaming, which let's go ahead and go into PUBG. I'll show you. If you are a gamer, you'll really like this upgrade. All right, so here is the difference with gaming performance, guys. So you can see for a game like PUBG, we can actually play, or we used to could play at, oh, it's not optimized yet. We could play at 90 frames on the 14 Pro Max, but this one isn't optimized quite yet. It should be. But yeah, you just will get a better gaming experience. Like I said, when you do get the 90 frames, it just looks way smoother. And not only does this phone not get as warm as the 8 Plus, but like I said, having a bigger display and stuff is also pretty nice as well too. And yeah, the gaming experience is just be really good. Now, Apple claims, and I'm gonna check this out, that this chip is so powerful that it can port console games to it, like the Resident Evil game. They show it in the presentation. So they're saying that they can just straight up port like a console game to it, which that'll be a separate video. But the 8 Plus, it still does decent for, an older phone like this. We can play HDR Ultra, we can still play it at extreme settings. So it's definitely not like a terrible phone to game on, but you'll definitely notice a difference. So if you're a competitive gamer playing PUBG, Call of Duty, whatever, you'll definitely notice the difference. Genshin is just a massive difference in terms of performance. But what I do like about the 8 Plus is that you don't have the punch hole or anything inside the display like on the 15 Pro Max. But yeah, it doesn't do bad, but it does heat up a little bit more if you play for longer periods of time. But overall, not completely terrible, but you will get a really nice upgrade when it comes to gaming performance. The camera is probably the biggest upgrade here for majority of people, and it is the biggest upgrade here for sure. There's actually a lot going on in terms of the cameras. So we now have 3 cameras. We have a 48 megapixel, a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto that now does 5 times optical zoom. And then we also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60, a 12 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K 60. You also will have a cinematic mode on here as well too. You also can switch between 28, 35, 24, as you can see here. There's a macro mode on here. So yeah, the camera on here is definitely an upgrade in terms of specifications, and we now can go all the way up to 25 times zoom for maximum zoom. Alright, so the 8 Plus, it has a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. There's no ultra wide. It does 2 times optical zoom, shoots in 4K 60, has a 7 megapixel selfie, but it only shoots in 1080 30. So check out these side-by-side stills and video. Let me know what you guys thought. Let's check out these speakers side by side here, max volume. So, you know, you can pretty much hear the difference instantly. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is just way louder, way more bass, almost makes the 8 Plus sound kind of flat in comparison. So you're getting a really good speaker upgrade. It's just way louder. Alright, so lastly, let's go ahead and discuss battery life, because this is also a pretty good upgrade as well too. And the battery life on my 8 Plus is not terrible. Let me see. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because this one had a battery swap. The 8 Plus battery is pretty good, but it's nowhere near in comparison to the 15 Pro Max, even with the battery swapped. Alright, so the 15 Pro Max just has a way bigger battery. It's a 4,422 milliamp hour battery. You do have on here the MagSafe charging and the wireless charging, and it's also USB Type-C as well too, which is really nice this year. The 8 Plus does have a 2,691 milliamp hour battery. It also has wireless charging as well too, but of course no MagSafe and no USB Type-C. Basically, the 15 Pro Max, it's looking like it can easily go like a day and a half. It's really good on battery life. The 8 Plus, I can squeeze close to almost 6 hours of screen on time, more like 5 hours, maybe 30 minutes, but close. But yeah, the battery difference is like night and day, so you'll notice the difference immediately. So that's pretty much it, guys. Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.